this really is a clown show up
Well,
there.
but
She may be the
I
chief
guarantee you,
clown.
Joe Biden, I don't care what he say, he knows what habeas corpus is, and he could tell you right now.
Right, right. Hey, James, the tragically sad saga of Joe Biden doesn't go away. He was diagnosed with severe prostate cancer. I think he should be in everyone's thoughts and prayers on that. The third book, this time from Jake Tapper, an Axios reporter, on his ill-fated decision to run for re-election. As in the other two, there are lots of interesting anecdotes in it, but the overarching picture, we didn't really learn much new. It was what you talked about repeatedly in 2023 and 2024. Biden was too old to run for a second term, slipping, and he threatened to take Democrats down with him. If he had gotten out in July of 2023 instead of being forced out a year later, just think. I mean, this is alternative history. He would have been treated as a hero. His legacy would have been cherished. There was a better than even chance the Democrats would have won the 2024 election. But he and his enablers, Mike Donlin and Steve Ricchetti and Anita Dunn and Ron Klain, they just wouldn't face. They had a massive delusion that he was the one that could defeat Donald Trump. In fact, he was the one who could not defeat Donald Trump. Also, I think the Democratic politicians are at fault. Some who knew that this was a guy not fit to serve for 4 more years, but they kept saying, if you challenge an incumbent, it's just going to help Trump. They too made a tragic miscalculation, James.
I cannot begin to express how tragic this is. So Joe Biden on New Year's Day of 2024 stood as a titan of modern American history. When I tell you there are very few people that were all around the same age, we'll just make the demarcation line the end of World War II, which seems to be a long time ago, which it is. He's one of the most accomplished Americans. If you just look at what he did as chairman of the judiciary, foreign relations, vice president, president, and you look at the tragedies of his life and the strength that he's exhibited, and he's a well-liked, very admirable person. And he made one colossal mistake, and the Democrats made a colossal mistake by going along with it, and that is staying in the race until July 21st of 2024. And it breaks my heart, because you're right, and he's got this rather depressing diagnosis. Maybe hopefully they can deal with it. We all do, but it's still a certain age. And man, he should be enjoying. You can't hard to enjoy anything when you got a prostate cancer of that magnitude. But it's just the whole thing. It's just so sad. And what made it so tragic is he's such a good guy. It was actually a really good, one of the better first-term presidents. Some people, I've heard people argue he did as much as 4 years as a lot of people did in 8. But he's a man that deserved everything that we could give him other than re-election.
Sadly, it was self-inflicted, I'm afraid. Let me make a couple points, though. One, there is no evidence that cancer was known about a year before, as Trump and some others have charged. He said he had not taken a PSA test since 2014. I frankly think that's foolish, but that's what the experts recommend. Stop taking PSA tests. I do not understand why. So I don't think they covered that up. Also, in the 3 books, they're devastating. I mean, he really had lost it. But I read all 3, and I didn't find one instance where his cognitive slippage, caused a policy crisis where, we did something that we wouldn't have done if we'd had a sharper president. I think that's important. Republicans will try to make a big deal out of that. And finally, James, I heard some pundits say this is going to be a big issue for Democrats in 2028. I think that's a long time away.
Yeah, I do too. And what people forget is Trump is going to be 81, assuming he lives, in his last day in office. And so as this heightens the whole cognitive debate or age-related debate, which I think is a important debate to have, it may backfire on him.
Yeah.
But it was a tragic thing. With Jake's book, brought more light to it. There are going to be so many books written on this. Shit, God knows what. And you know what happens? Every time you go further into history, you find out more.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't know. We pretty much know the parameters of what happened, but there are plenty of specifics left. Yeah, it's just the saddest fucking thing you can imagine.
No,
it's just the whole thing.
Hey, James, let's not forget, however, this week, the Trump clown show up on Capitol Hill. The Homeland Security Secretary, Kristi Noem, had no idea what habeas corpus was. She was asked, what's habeas corpus? She said, that's what allows the president to deport people. So basically what the founders, in putting that in the Constitution, were saying, we want to put that in because we want to allow the president, George Washington, whoever, to deport people. Wrong. But imagine, no idea. And then you had the IRS nominee, Billy Long.
He's a bunch of fucking fools.
The definition of a hack was asked by Elizabeth Warren, is it all right for the president to audit IRS audits of people he doesn't like? Billy Long wouldn't answer that question. First of all, he doesn't know, but secondly, he'll do whatever he's told to do. And James, I really believe this. I think that's going to happen. And one of the worst scandals and worst things in this administration is going to be the way they abuse the IRS to go after people they don't like and protect people they do. And finally, we had Marco Rubio, who has flipped one position after another. And there were some senators who said, I wouldn't have voted for you if I knew you were going to do this. The one thing I knew about Marco Rubio going in, that, for some people find him quite attractive, he's weak. He was the prime sponsor of that immigration reform bill, bipartisan, back 10 or 12 years ago. And then one day he went and he did what they call a full Ginsburg +2. He did 7 Sunday shows talking about what a great bill it was. He got some heat, and then he was the first one to back away. And we remember what Chris Christie did to him in that debate. So it is a collection of clowns.
Well, all right, let's talk about Kristi Noem and habeas corpus. First of all, not only does she not know what it was, she thought it was the actual opposite of what it actually is. So let's take this word. Is this some newfangled liberal progressive bullshit? It was mentioned in the Magna Carta, which is something like, 1250 or some exact date. All right. It was such a fundamental right. Understand, it was not in the Bill of Rights. It was in the original articles of the Constitution.
Of the Constitution.
It was such a sacred right. It was more than free speech and freedom of religion and the things that they had to incorporate in the Bill of Rights. All right. It is like fundamental underpinning of English common law and American law. And, somebody that has worked a lot extensively in Argentina, you hear a lot about the dirty war, but any other totalitarian, you just disappear. Just one day you're there, the next day you're not. But Stalin said, no man, no problem. So it's so utterly fundamental to the actual core of what our legal system is, to what we are. That if you arrest somebody, you got to publicly tell them why they're arrested and what the charge is. You just can't go and snatch somebody out of bed and have them disappear and have their families worry where they are. She's so goddamn stupid. And the thing is, I don't think she even knows she's stupid. Okay, I really don't. I don't think she's, one of the classic lines of all politics was there's a client line about Newt Gingrich. He was a stupid person's idea what a smart person sounds like. She is a stupid person who looks at the world exactly like a stupid person would look at the world, and she doesn't even know she's stupid.
God, and her top advisor is Corey Lewandowski. How about that? Huh? Anyway, you're absolutely right. But the Democrats have their problems. Joe Biden certainly has his problems. But this really is a clown show. She may be the chief clown.
Joe Biden, I don't care what he say. He knows what habeas corpus is, and he could tell you right now.
Right.